Hi, everyone. My name is Heather Havenwood. I am super excited to have a very interesting interview today with Brannon Beliso. So be ready for some really cool stuff. Brannon, are you there from San Francisco?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here, Heather. Grateful to be here.
We've been talking in the green room here, and I'm going to be introducing you who he is in just a second. But he's got some interesting philosophies on life and on his clothing. And before I show you who he is on the camera, and what he wears and why he wears it. And of course, I just asked Mike what the hat was. It's like, it's cold. So it was the only thing that he has. It just doesn't have a particular philosophy other than it's just cold. So I'm really interested in your story, Brannon. And before I introduce who you are from a bio perspective, I kind of just want to get a feeling from you. Who would you say you are?
I would say I'm a person in this world who's trying to make a difference, who's trying to lead by example. Who's very transparent. I mean, there's nothing about me that I hide. I think living in the shadows creates a lot of pain, creates a lot of deceit and suffering. And for me, I want to stay in the light as much as possible.
Love that. Okay. I love that. Okay. So a couple things we were talking in the green room about, and I'm going to go ahead and just right now just set the stage of who you are. So Brannon Beliso, and you can find his website at BrannonBeliso.com.
BrannonBeliso.com. BRANNON. Yeah.
Okay. BrannonBeliso.com. He's dedicated to helping people live their best lives. His passion is to help people and businesses reach their full potential through defining their values, developing their culture, and building their brand, creating leadership by example, and fulfilling their purpose. Brannon's purpose is to always be a student and never a master. He devotes his life to being a better martial artist, mentor, teacher, speaker, writer, motivator, inventor of personal development, life skills education, martial arts-based programs. And you humbly present workshops and seminars. So let's talk about you. You said you're wearing black today. If you're in the podcast and you're in a radio, you're listening, you can't see. Tell me why you said you are wearing black.
Well, my wife would tell you because I have no fashion sense, none whatsoever. But it's just really, when I wake up in the morning, I want to make sure I at least match. So if everything's black, no matter what I grab, no matter what I put on, I'm at least halfway in the game, just halfway. And I just always thought it was cool. Johnny Cash wore black. And I think black's cool. It's my favorite color.
Cool. Okay. Got it. Well, I love the philosophy. You said something in the green room about you didn't want to think about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that's more interesting to me because I think as entrepreneurs, our brain's going creatively on 1,000 miles an hour. And if there's like one thing you could just like, okay, I have to think about that,
Well, Heather, I saw that with, I'm nowhere near this, but you think about someone like an Einstein. I read that he had 22 sets of the same clothing, so he didn't have to think about that. One less thing to think about so he could focus on being creative. So anything I can do to eliminate the distractions, allowing myself to be more creative and focus on what I want to focus on so it expands, then as an entrepreneur, I really think something as simple as clothing, getting that off the table because it's such an everyday thing, right?
Right. I want to go down this road a little, if you don't mind, because this is
Absolutely
fascinating to me. So there have been times in my life that I've had to have a uniform, for work, whatever that was. When I was in the restaurant business many times. One time I was in the telecom business, whatever. We had a uniform, and I actually liked it. I liked it because I focus on my hair, my makeup, or whatever, and looks good. But like, I didn't have to focus on this other thing. I always made it look good, but it did kind of relieve this anxiety, right? And then it also gave me the opportunity inside of the context of the job to say, well, I look like everybody else from the context of the clothing, but how I assert myself, my energy is different. So it gave me this opportunity to like really shift certain things, communication, tonality, energy towards something. I think there's a lot to be said for just having a uniform.
I agree. You think of any professional sports team or organization, imagine everybody showed up to the game wearing what they wanted. So like in our businesses that I have, we do wear uniforms, martial arts uniforms, things of that nature, because I think it promotes your brand, and your brand is really important. You walk into an Apple store, everybody's got on Apple t-shirts. So yeah, it makes you feel like part of the team. And I think it promotes that, which allows you to get to the good stuff. I agree.
I've always enjoyed it. but never really thought it through from a creativity perspective.
Hmm.
And as I'm thinking this with you in this kind of co-creation space, is like I'm thinking of the band Kiss.
Yes,
They have a uniform.
they do. They
It's a
do.
very specific uniform, but it's a uniform.
Yeah, but they're all unique in their facial paint, right? One was the
Exactly.
cat, one was the kabuki looking guy, one was the clown with the star, Paul Stanley. So I get that, but you're right. They all the basic high heel, black leather type vibe, and they look like a band. They look like a team.
Yeah,
So
they look
I
like
agree.
a team, and it gave them probably the creativity to step into this new role. Because I'm sure behind the scenes at home as fathers and cousins and sons and whatnot, they were probably very different. But being on stage and in this uniform or costume, basically, you kind of they probably, if I was talking to them right now, step into this new role. Do you feel the same way in your, I'm going to use the word costume just for the sake of conversation, or uniform, uh, martial arts? Do you think that kind of mindset comes from your martial arts background?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a story, a backstory that I share with all my team constantly. When I'm in the dressing room, I'm putting on my martial arts uniform. I wear a black Under Armour, and I stand in the mirror, and I kid you not, and in this black Under Armour, and I look in the mirror, I go, I am the Batman. Because I recognize when I put on this uniform and I tie on that black belt, I'm there as an instructor, as a teacher. So you're right. You go through this metamorphosis. I did the same thing when I was a musician. You go through this metamorphosis because we're many layers. We're not just one dimensional people. And so it's important to recognize that when I'm a dad, I wear my dad clothes and I behave like a dad. When I'm speaking, I'm a speaker. But I think the commonality through all of that is at the essence, we're still who we are, no matter what we wear. But it's
Yeah,
fun, right? We like to dress up on Halloween. We like to role play. It's a cool thing.
it's a cool thing. So how does that relate, just kind of moving into what you do, and you have a TED Talk called Happy on Purpose. How does that kind of pull into being happy?
Well, my purpose in life is to be happy. And it's discovering what that works for me. Everybody's different, right? Everyone's different. So to spend that journey, that time going inward, we live in a culture where the distractions, the iPad, the cell phone, validate me at social media, all those different things, Heather, when really what I want to do is just at a heart level, at a spiritual level, emotionally, physically, I want to be happy. I want to be happy if I'm sitting there on a beach playing with a rock. I want to be happy if I'm standing in front of 1,000 people speaking. And I want to be happy if I'm just playing with my 6-year-old. So it really is a state of mind. It's everything I do in my life is
Yeah.
to cultivate those values and tools to achieve that. So
So I
that's
want
where the
to
happy on purpose came
I want
from.
to go down this road a little bit. A couple things. I have two questions, and you can, of course, dissect them separately or whatever. The first one is, what is happy to you? And the second one is, what do you do, not do, or do? You know, when, I don't know, your wife says something that doesn't make you very happy. Like what? Those are two questions. I'll let you answer that.
Well, I think first is defining that nobody in life can make me happy. Happiness is my choice. I mean, there's things people cut you off when you're driving. I was at Disneyland, the happiest place on earth last week. And there are behaviors and stuff may not necessarily be in line with my values, but then I take a life skill like empathy to understand and simply understand, hey, maybe they're having a bad day. And unless I'm walking in their shoes, I don't know what's going down. So it helps you not detach in an unhealthy way, but it helps me detach in a very healthy way, again, using the life skill of empathy. So it allows me that, even with my wife and kids. And it's not always easy, right? Because you're in such close proximity with your family all the time. But it really is. When I talk about being happy on purpose, my purpose is to discover, at this case, right now, I'm 56. So to discover today, what is happiness at 56? It's not the same when I was 20. So
Mm.
I'm really defining that in the moment right now. I'm happy because I'm with you.
Oh, thank you. Oh, that was
And that's important to me. That's important to me, is to know that if I want to get everything I need with you right now, I need to be with you completely, fully. Not what am I going to eat for dinner? What am I going to do? So it's a mindset before, we ever connected. Right now, I sat here and said, my goal, my purpose in life, if I want to be happiest, is to be most present with Heather. So that way I can learn what I need to learn and share what I need to share.
Thank you. Thank you for that honor. I appreciate that. I do have a question with that is if you were speaking on your TED Talk, and I have not seen your TED Talk, and I highly suggest anyone to go see it, Happy on Purpose, Brannon Beliso. But I do want to ask the question, what would you define happiness for others, or what would you request people define happiness
I mean,
as?
I can't. My version of happy or success may not be your version of happiness or success at all. At all. My wife's version of happiness is going on vacation in a 5-star hotel. My version of vacation is I'm going to go up to the mountains this weekend and sit in the woods. So it very, but I think there's commonalities as human being that we should live by values. I think humility is a wonderful life skill we should all have. And unfortunately, when you hear humility, Western culture thinks being humiliated. No, to have a humble heart and be a humble person is very valuable. Discipline, to always do your best. I think we all need to do our best, because when we do, whether it's taking out the garbage or something grandiose, if we always do our best job, I believe we feel better about ourselves.
Yeah.
So there's certain life skills that we all benefit from universally.
I like that. I like that. I'm gonna turn it a little and ask you a question. I heard a stat earlier. I'm not gonna even try to say what it was, but I'll give you the overview, right? Because I don't remember the exact statement. But the overview of the article that I was reading was about the fact that men today, in our society, in Western culture, are unhappy. They're depressed. They feel beaten down. They don't. Maybe I'm not gonna go into the why. It could be the Me Too movement. I don't know. That wasn't really the part of the article. The article was just kind of have like putting a spotlight on men today don't feel as confident as they have in the past generations, right? And I don't know if can you speak to that for being in martial arts? And I feel like I could say you're a very confident man. What would you say to that? What is happening and how to maybe.
Well, I think fortunately, being 56, I was around a kid in the 60s and I saw the 70s. There was a time when it was okay to open a door. There was a time when it was okay to compliment a woman without thinking it was going to be sexual harassment. So I think, I don't want to say you've neutered men, but in many ways, men are neutered. They can't pull a chair for a woman. They can't pick up the bill. They can't order when you know what, the woman wants to eat and you order for her. Chivalry has been bred out of people. And that, I think, that neuters that innate confidence, that primal confidence that every man deserves and needs.
Mm-hmm.
I find that nowadays, I don't want to even say I did. You came aboard and I said, wow, she's a really beautiful woman. But I'm hesitant to say that openly because it might be misconstrued.
Right.
So
no, I'm in alignment with that. I'm a Southern girl. I'm from
there
Texas,
you go.
right?
Yeah.
So I just went to the gym earlier for our we had like an hour, and I went and there was a nice man in a truck opened the door for me. I was like, oh, thank you. I was
Right.
like,
But unfortunately, we don't. We're so hesitant now because you're afraid there's going to be a harassment suit filed on you. You're afraid to compliment. So I think that part, and it's very primal. Men like to hunt, right? And I said that to my wife, I have to teach our son to hunt. She goes, what do you mean? Out in the forest? I said, no, we hunt. We find a better way to live. We find resources to provide for our family. We find, to provide. So there's that sense of hunting that is now being, again, taken away because men think, okay, well, all right, why even bother doing that? Because, let a man be a man, in the words of the late, great Prince. Let a woman be a woman and let a man be a man. There's certain things that were great 100 years ago that are great now. You should open a door for a woman. When you walk down the street, she's closest to the wall, so you protect her from any oncoming traffic. I mean, there's just those things that are romantic or wonderful that should never be taken away.
I think they're primal.
They are. They are, Heather. They are primal.
They're primal, and
it makes a man stand up straighter, and it makes his chest go out a little more, and he feels good if he's protecting his woman,
Yeah, well, there's truth. And I was asking this question to someone earlier in the week, and I said, I said the same thing you said. I'm going to kind of go deeper. I said, I think men forgot that they're hunters, And his response was like, well, he had a response, well, yeah, but blah, blah. And I think he kind of asked the question, well, what am I hunting now, in our age?
Yeah, but see, again, it's not,
bears.
yeah,
So
it's not what you're hunting, Heather. It's why. It's
okay.
why you're hunting.
Say more.
Yeah. Well, the why. I mean, the purpose, why do I hunt? Because it makes me feel alive. Why do I hunt? Because I feel like I'm accomplishing things, right? I'm advancing, right? I mean, nobody wants to be hunted. You'd rather be the hunter. Just like in life, I'd rather be the victor than the victim. And many times in my life growing up, I shared that, being in a foster home, being molested, being abused. I was a victim, and a victim mindset does not facilitate the success that we strive for as entrepreneurs and even, as human beings. So to go out there and hunt, to go after what you want, be it a job, be it a business you're creating, be it a relationship, that's a good thing. That's why we hunt. It's not
why. Okay.
Yeah, it is the why. It
So
is
it
the
goes
why.
beyond I'm a hunter. It's like, why are you a hunter? Like if you had a 14, 15-year-old, 16-year-old man, young man come up to you and go, what does it mean to be a man now? Like, how would you answer that? Because it's such a complex question today.
Well, my gut answer right away, and I'm going to go a little deeper. That's why men pee standing up and women pee sitting down. It just is. But I grew up with 4 sisters, Heather. So this is a backstory. I didn't know you were supposed to pee standing up until I went to kindergarten.
Really?
Yeah, because my mom wasn't around, so my sisters and I kind of raised each other, and they taught me to pee sitting down. So I went to kindergarten. I kid you not. I'm standing in the bathroom going, why is that guy peeing in that funny looking sink over there? Thank God I didn't go wash my hands in that sink. But it's the truth. So I have the yin and the yang. Growing up with 4 women, I think what it means to be a man today is to remember that your sensitivity and your vulnerability and your transparency is what's going to make you strongest. That's the yin to the yang. We try to look at GQ and I got to be macho and stoic and don't express myself and my feelings. That's very detrimental. That's the guy who holds it in for 30, 40 years and wakes up and goes postal. I think we need to express, and it's okay to cry. It's okay to be vulnerable. Just do it in front of the right people. Yeah. Right? That's important as well. My daddy taught me that. Crying's healthy. Just make sure you don't do it in front of the wrong people who are going to look at you as weak and take advantage of you. But crying is healthy. I think men need to tap into their feminine side or their yin side if they're to be a better man.
To be a better man, to be able to actually be that confident man.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love this conversation.
My daughter paints my toenails. I'm a very confident man. Paint away, baby.
Paint away.
Yeah, I have no challenge with that. That's
true. I love that. That's super awesome. I think one of the things, there was a woman I was talking to yesterday. I went on a rant on Facebook and then I took it down. So I won't go on the rant here, but I'll get the context. And it was a women's group that I was potentially going to be in a seminar with. And we were going down the conversation and she said there's a lot, and I don't know where she's getting her stats from, but she said that women today are very upset and they're very depressed and I don't know, like she was just kind of going on this whole rant. And I didn't want to ask her where her stats were because that's not my experience of women right now. But I wanted to say, well, that might be because women have been, use your word, neutering men. So I think that I know for myself, if I'm around a weak man, I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy the process. I don't enjoy being with that energy. I actually enjoy the being around a confident man. Now, confidence doesn't mean a-hole, right?
No, not at all.
Right. So confidence allows me to be able to kind of relax, feeling protected in some way and whatnot. What would do you agree with that? I'm just going to get your take on that.
Again, I have 4 sisters, so I interact with women all the time. The percentage of my team in both my businesses are women. I really believe that, from the days of Helen Reddy, I am woman, hear me roar, is that be a woman, it's okay. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to ask a man to protect me. It's okay to do that. And I think, again, look at The Bachelorette. Look at freaking soap operas. Just put down the Vogue magazine. Stop reading that stuff. Turn off The Bachelorette and take that time and ask yourself, what is it that I need? I see you're very clear. You like to be protected. You're very clear. You love a confident man. You didn't get that watching The Bachelorette, did you? No. So that's what I'm saying. The distractions from ourselves, all via social media, via, again, Vogue magazine, or in my case, GQ, or watching The Bachelor, things like that. They're so skewed. They're not reality shows. There's nothing real about it at all. No. So to get real, I agree with you. I think at a very primal level, every woman wants a confident man, or at least they're equal, whatever that might mean for them. But it really requires, you got to let down your hair and you got to be okay with being vulnerable. I need a hug right now, whether both ways. I'll say that to my wife. I need a hug. I need a hug. Stop what you're doing. Give me a hug.
I love that.
And that's
true. It's
but it is.
true.
And
I was
see that
go ahead.
that's it, because we're so afraid.
Yeah.
I think we live in this fear, this state of fear. And if I make choices based upon fear, Heather, I'm always going to make bad choices. Always, but it takes a lot of courage. Somebody was saying that today. I read your book. Man, you have your butt in the wind there. You're totally exposed to the world. I would never do that. I'm afraid to do that and being exposed. Again, it just takes so much energy to perpetrate a fraud. If I'm spending all my energy, pomp and circumstance, look at me. Yeah, that's such a waste of energy. But if you can just drop your hair down and just be who you are, then you can spend your energy and time on the real things we need to do to get to our better versions of ourselves.
I agree with that. When I wrote my book Sexy Boss, about bankruptcy, it was very vulnerable because I didn't want people to know that I failed, but I did,
Okay. Yeah. But okay, here's my example. I told this to my 9-year-old the other day, real quick. Steph Curry, the most proficient 3-point shooter in the NBA, correct?
Mm-hmm.
He makes 53% of those 3-pointers. So that means he misses the other 47% of the time. Failure is part of success. You and I both know that. I can see it in your eyes. Failure is part of success. It's part of it.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah, I filed bankruptcy at 26. I mean, it happens. It just happens. I just saw that one of those goal cast things on Robert Downey Jr. Talk about succeeding and failing, succeeding and failing.
Right? He's had some serious, he slammed his, no kidding, car into all kinds of stuff.
So failing,
no pun intended.
Man, failing is part of success. I embrace my failures like a best friend because they're some of the best life lessons in what is so-called failures, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't look at failing as failing.
Right. I know. I agree with that. I just recently did a comedy show. I stood up and did a
oh, wow.
Thanks.
Good for you.
And you talk about staring at fear of rejection. That was what I was dealing with, right? Because you deal with that. Anyone deals with that all the time. But even standing in front of like TED Talk and doing 10 minutes for Happy on Purpose in your book, and being so vulnerable. There is a potential fear. I'm not saying you had that, but I know for myself, if I did that, there'd be a potential fear of like someone will reject me after they hear my personal story.
Well, again, whatever we focus on expands, right? I'm afraid of heights, so I jumped out of an airplane. I went bungee jumping. I recognize we're all going to be afraid. Yeah. But when I allow that fear to stop me, Heather, then that's when I'm not happy anymore. And I want to be happy. And you want to talk about empowerment? If you're afraid of heights, jump out of an airplane, right? No,
it's great. Yeah, I have a fear of rejection. So I, as far as forcing people to laugh, I guess, right? So I did it, and I stood on a stage and made people laugh for 5 minutes, right? But there was this massive amount of rejection. What if I couldn't do it? What if they didn't laugh? I'm not funny, all those different things, because there's a pressure. If I'm speaking out to you or on stage or whatever, there's no pressure. I'm just sharing stories. But when it's specific for me in comedy, if I'm standing on stage for 5 minutes and people are staring at me like, okay, entertain me, make me laugh, I'm like, oh my God, there's pressure. You know what I mean? So there's this huge pressure. So on your Happy on Purpose on your TED Talk, was that because there's different versions of TED Talk. Was it local in San Francisco? Was it LA?
It was local. Yeah, it was local in San Francisco.
Okay, good.
It was a local event.
Yeah, they're still great, right? So tell us about that whole talk. I'm just curious, like what Happy on Purpose, the why. Can you go a little more deeper into the why?
Yeah. It's really about my version of what it takes to be happy. And one of the things I shared in that TED Talk was, I know what it's like to be unhappy. Growing up the victim, I lived unhappy. I used to listen to this Billie Holiday song, I'm glad to be unhappy. She was the torch singer who was always just moaning and groaning and how horrible life is and dating some guy that was messing around on her. And, that was Billie Holiday, but that was one of her songs. I'm glad to be unhappy. So that's the other end of the spectrum that I lived on. So it was really about peeling away the layers and figuring out, well, what does make me happy? And I realized it's a skill set. We choose to be happy. Right? I've woken up in bad moods many times, but it's my choice if I stay there a minute, an hour, a day, a week, a month, and so forth and so forth. And if you have a skill set, you can change that mindset. You can disrupt that mindset, Heather, and go from bummed out to being really happy. And when I first learned that was kids. Watch kids. 1 minute they're crying, and next minute it's like, is that the same kid I just saw a minute ago? So kids are really, masters of that.
So what happens, I want to ask a different question. How is someone listening going, okay, that sounds like you have it down. They're a stud, but I don't have it down. Can you give them a tip, tick strategy, stand on your head? How would you do that?
I think starting each day with a mindset of gratitude. One of my mentors said, every day above ground is a good day. If that's the most base reason I can find to be grateful, we need to find a reason to be grateful, no matter what that is. I have a really bad knee from martial arts, but when I wake up, instead of focusing on my bad knee, I'm grateful I have a leg.
Yeah.
And as the saying goes, I complained I had no shoes until I saw a man with no feet. So gratitude is so important in being happy.
That's very accurate. There's a lot of in Austin. I'm in Austin, which is a mini San Fran, as they say, and there's a lot of homeless people here, unfortunately. And so part of what I've been doing lately is like I just gave one of the guys, he's got dogs, so I just gave him bunch of dog food that I wouldn't go out, and then I have now water in my car, and I just hand it now. I just kind of hand it out, because I just feel like there's something to be grateful for every time that I give something. It's small, right? It's water, but it's just a bottle of water, but at least it feels like, okay, I'm somehow making a difference, and I'm grateful for that I'm able to give them something, and also being grateful for myself. Every time I do it, I feel grateful that what I have.
Well, I think beyond that, what you're saying to that person, it's not a bottle of water. It's saying, hey, I acknowledge you. Yeah. You're a human being, and your situation may be different than mine, but we're all in this thing together to some extent, 6 degrees of separation. Yeah. And I've lived in third world countries, and I know what poor is. I know what homeless is. I've witnessed the poverty in other countries. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot to be grateful for here, but can you find that? I was in Disneyland and watching people being unhappy, going, "Wow, you're supposed to be in the happiest place on earth, and you're mad because you don't get cotton candy, or you have to stand in a line." It's like, wow. So again, is your cup half full or half empty?
Right.
I've gotten to the mindset. Well, I don't think it's neither. I have a pitcher that I can go to a well and constantly fill up this pitcher and have this unlimited resource to keep filling those cups.
So what do you do on a daily basis? Do you have a particular structure to help?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you mind sharing?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm very big on processes and systems. I mean, cultures have shown it historically. There's rituals, systems. We need systems. That's what drives my businesses. We have processes that promote our culture and our why, and the team delivers it. Every morning when I wake up, first thing I do is I breathe in and I say mentally, I am grateful. I'm breathing. I breathe out and I say, I am grateful. I breathe in, I say, I am breathing. I breathe out, and I go through my gratitude list. My health, my prosperity, my challenges, my family, my team, everything. I go through all of it. And until I'm finally in a state of mind of positivity and gratitude. So when my 2 feet hit the ground, I'm already in the right mindset. So that's number one. And we need those rituals. Consistency is the key to quality. So if you consistently execute certain rituals in your life, even time-based, the morning rituals are the same. I have a different set of night rituals when I lay down at the end of the night. So it's important to have those.
Do you teach that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I have Stanford Medical Center coming up in a couple of weeks, and I will teach them just that. Everything's a mindset, and that's the brilliant thing about it. And here's the power of the mind. You ever thought something about somebody you knew to be truth, and you had it so set in your mind, only to find out you were totally wrong?
Oh, of course.
But imagine how real it was in that moment.
Yeah.
That's a small example on a daily basis of what the power of the mind can do. I've done that. I know that person did this, only to find out I was 100,000,000% wrong. That showed me, wow, the ability of what our minds can create. So we can create happiness. We really can. We can create gratitude. And it's out of nothing. It comes out of nothing.
I hope that you can teach that to our political system right now. That's a whole other conversation.
I mean, I truly believe if women ran this world, it wouldn't be in the situation it's in. And I do it. I walk in rooms with people, and if it needs to stop being a whose pee-pee is bigger than whose pee-pee. If they can stop that stuff and get to the real work. And Dalai Lama said it really well. We don't need more successful people. We need people of empathy. We need people, that are healers. We need more of that. We do.
We need more healers helping people heal.
Absolutely.
Do you work more with men or women, or just in general? It's not.
No, fortunately, because of who I am and having grown up with 4 sisters, I believe I have a kinship with both sides, and they feel very comfortable working with me.
Do you find when you're working with men, are you finding that you're doing a lot of work in the healing side of healing them and healing wounds?
Yeah, I think with men, it's about letting them know it's okay, right? I don't drink, so I don't do anything like that. I can't shimmy up to a bar with a client and go, hey, dude, how's it going? How about those Lakers or those 49ers? We don't have those kind of conversations. It's just really about getting real. And in my lifetime, in my journeys, I've stood in the woods naked, beating a drum. I've done it all to try to figure out what works for me. But I think it's really about with men, allowing them, giving them that carte blanche to experiment and to be and to do those different things on whatever path to get there. Men are very stoic. I must do this. I must bring in the paycheck. Da, 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 da. And when the day's done, I don't think that's what we're here to do. I don't.
No, I think there's more than that in connecting with the yin and yang within themselves and connecting to the yin and yang and their partner or whatnot. Right. So I completely concur with that. That's pretty awesome. Well, I want to acknowledge the time that we're out, but,
man.
And want to make sure people know where they can find you. It's BrannonBeliso.com. I'll spell that for you. BrannonBeliso.com. Why don't you say it just in case I'm not saying it wrong?
Yes, ma'am. BrannonBeliso.com.
Nice. I love that. And check him out also on TED Talk, Happy on Purpose. Feel free to search that, I'm sure, on YouTube and find him on Amazon as well. What's the name of your book?
The book is called Live, Learn, Grow, Lessons of a Reluctant Tiger. And it's if you want it in Kindle. I actually got to narrate that book, the audio version in George Lucas's original studio, where him and Spielberg conceptualized Jurassic Park and Star Wars. So that was very cool. Yeah.
That's really cool.
I sat in the theater where they created THX. So
that's cool. I think it's great that your subtitle, your subheadline is about a tiger.
Well, it is, because I am a tiger, but I'm reluctant too. When we learn these life lessons, sometimes I'm drug kicking and screaming into that lesson. So we are reluctant. But if we give way and long story, I'll give you a real quick story. Suckerfish, their whole life was sucking on the bottom of the river. They hung onto these rocks because they were told if I let go of the rock, the current's going to crash me on the rocks. I'm going to die. So one day the fish said, hey, I don't want to deal with this anymore. So he let go. And first he fought the current, right? He was getting smashed. Then he let go and stopped fighting it. He rose to the top of the river and he was heading downstream. He didn't know where he was going, but at least he wasn't sucking onto that rock, leading that existence. So it's the same thing here. You got to let go. You got to let go and be willing to let go. Right?
Yeah, that could be scary when you don't know where you're going.
Yeah, but the best part about being lost is being found. So it's all good.
Okay, you're going to be one of those people I call.
Yes, ma'am.
If you give me some Eastern philosophy right now, you're like,
yes, ma'am. Anytime.
I love that. Wow, you're awesome. All right, everyone. This is Heather Havenwood. Go check Brannon out at BrannonBeliso.com, as well as his TED Talk, Happy on Purpose. All right, everyone. This is Heather Havenwood. Check us out at HeatherHavenwood.com. Bye.
Excellent.